everyone. Welcome to Today in Woburn. I'm your host, Samantha Stone. We have a lot to catch up on. I hope everybody had a lovely weekend. Sunday turned out to be a beautiful day. I'd like to think it was because it was Mother's Day and we were celebrating the mothers and mother-like figures in our life, but may just be coincidence, but I was glad to have it. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, Samantha. How's it going?
Good, good. We enjoyed a really lovely day with family yesterday, and then a little bit of an evening. I went out with a couple friends to see a show without family. So it was a nice mix. How was your Mother's Day weekend?
It was great. We actually had 2 days of celebrating mothers. My son Tim hosted a gathering on Saturday afternoon for the whole family and a couple of moms, which was nice. And then we gathered again yesterday to celebrate Anne Marie specifically. Also got a chance to visit with my mom and her mom. So it
Nice.
was it was a really nice weekend. Yeah. And then we had the Sean Dillon event on Saturday night, which
Yes.
is a great cause for an awesome Woburn family and well attended. And really happy to be there to support Jeff and Liz and the family. So it was a nice weekend.
It really was. And some of you may notice my voice is a little hoarse, and that is because the Dylan fundraiser was very fun. And
Yes.
we did a lot of talking, and I lost my voice a little bit, but
Yep.
they did a beautiful job. It was a wonderful
They did.
tribute.
It was.
So. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about, we know it's budget season. We've talked recently about sort of the process we're going through, but there's been a couple of questions that have come up because it's been on recent city council meetings or committee meetings where we're requesting funds move from one place to another. So for like a overtime fund to the regular salary fund. And some people have asked, does that mean that we're over budget? Specifically, they've been asking about fire and police. And I have the pleasure of sitting in into our monthly meetings, but I thought it's a really fair question, and it'd be good to help people understand what that really means and why we do it the way we do.
Yeah. So most of the departments, when you get near the end of the fiscal year, there's some bookkeeping done. There's some moving around of money from one account to another. That's standard stuff, particularly regarding the fire department. There's a unique provision there that's probably worth talking about a little bit. As folks may be aware, we run a fire department and emergency medical response. Our firefighters are EMTs. So we respond to medical calls, we do medical transports. And when we do that, the city is reimbursed for some of those costs. We get payment. And that money gets put into a BLS, Basic Life Support account, BLS account for the ambulance revenues. And then we use that fund to offset some of the other accounts, the salary for the ambulance drivers, overtime, et cetera. So we do a couple of transfers during the year, and we're at the point actually tonight. We're taping on Monday, so tonight in city council committee meetings, in the Committee on Finance, we're doing a transfer from some of that BLS revenue account to balance out those other accounts in salary and overtime, et cetera. So that's why they see that on the agenda. But again, it's pretty standard stuff. It happens every year, and it's just a way to balance out those accounts as we wrap up the fiscal year and get ready for the next one.
Yeah, thank you. And so just so folks understand, it's really not an indication that we're over budget in overall. It's really
Yeah.
just a matter of how we manage accounts and where monies come from and the normal things that happen as we near the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah, and we put placeholders in for the overtime account, knowing that we're going to be transferring some BLS
Yeah.
money into that at some point during the year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
excellent. Yeah, thank you for that explanation. I know when you just
sure.
see numbers moving around, it's hard to know what that is, and it can be a little
Yep.
bit confusing.
Yep.
Excellent. This Thursday, we're going to be hosting a community meeting with Waste Management, our partner that does our trash and recycling pickup, so that people have an opportunity to ask questions as we get close to the July 1st cutoff to trash automation. We won't go over all those questions that people might have that we'll talk about in that forum, but one thing that I don't know Waste Management will come up in our conversations is really why we're making this transition and sort of what the cost differences are. There's a lot of things, moving parts. Frankly, I'm not sure we could get somebody to agree to do manual pickup anymore. It's not the way waste management companies want to operate
Yeah.
and how best practice is. But there are some differences in terms of the cost to the city and things that I just wanted to give you a chance to talk about why we're making this change and the things that may not be obvious to people.
Yeah, probably the main driver for making the change is that most trash and recycling companies have already moved towards automation, and waste management is moving that way themselves. So we were running out of options in terms of somebody who would provide the same exact service where you put anything you want out, any way you want, anytime you want, and it gets picked up. Um, Automation it's not the future anymore, it's the present. So that's what we're dealing with primarily. There's also the component of actual tonnage of trash picked up. And at some point, it starts to cost too much to do everything the old fashioned way, I guess I'd say. So in our discussions with waste management this time last year, when we were extending and renewing a contract with them, it was pretty clear that the days of manual trash pickup and put out whatever you want were over. So in talking with them, we looked into options and ways to do it. We rolled out the recycling piece last year. I think so far it's going okay. There was certainly some adjustments in the beginning, and it's new, it's different, and we understand that, and we tried to work with people to make sure that it went as smooth as it could. And now here we are, the next year two in the contract, where we're preparing for the trash transition to automation. So we'll try to use some of the lessons learned from last year when we rolled out recycling, and try to do even better than we did last year. But in addition to the point that not many people were doing this anymore, there was also a monetary savings to move towards automation. The first year of the contract that we're wrapping up now, which is half and half, recycle by automation and trash by manual, it would have cost us about $1 million more. And by moving completely to full automation, the savings, I have a figure here, the savings in this coming year will be about $1 million, from 4.6 to 3.7 million. So not only was it that we were running out of options and that the old way was going to cost much more, we have actual data to show that there are savings here. Now, again, we don't minimize the impact on the residents that these changes have. It's something you have to get used to. It's a different way of dealing with your recycle and your trash. We're trying, and this will all come out Thursday night when we talk in Q&A, but we're trying to accommodate different needs, and whether people might want to get a second bin, maybe they want to get a surplus overflow bag every now and then when they have a big party or they have something going on. So we are going to try to work with people to make sure that we accommodate their needs. But all in all, I do believe this is in the best interest of the city. The options were limited and the savings are tangible. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. We're happy to work with people to make sure it goes as smooth as possible. And if there are any other questions, people can either come Thursday night or they can send us the questions. We have a rolling FAQ page to try to answer everything that's out there. And again, we want this to be a success for everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much. And this meeting is an addition because we learned during the recycling rollout that we did a lot of written communications, and having an opportunity to do this, we felt was helpful. So hopefully people who have questions will come out. It will also be broadcast with partners at Woburn Public Media that always do a great job of helping us out with
Yep.
that as well. So,
Yep.
now, one of the things that I think a lot of homeowners might be familiar with is Mass Save has these free energy audits where they come out to your house and they check your windows and doors and your systems and make recommendations on how you might be able to better insulate your home or do different things that can help you save money on energy. Well, they also have programs for businesses, which I was less familiar with. And I know that's something that is going to be coming up. Our planning office is helping coordinate for some of our local small businesses.
Yeah, next week there's going to be a program, Main Streets program, to help businesses. As you said, this type of service is pretty well known to residents. We're actually hoping to get the word out even more to our residents because we think there's a lot of money to be saved just by being a little bit more efficient. There's a lot of programs out there that make it almost cost neutral to upgrade and be more efficient and save some money. We've also been fortunate enough to receive a grant that will allow us to have a person fully paid for by the grant be that resource to residents and businesses to help them avail themselves of these mass save programs and others. So we're really excited to get that person on board fairly soon. And then in addition to that, we have another program, again, funded by the utilities, where we will have somebody working on how to help the city be more efficient with our buildings and our facilities. So again, it's nice when somebody else is paying for this and our city and our people get to benefit. So these three programs together should help people save a little money on their utility bills, and we all know we could all use that right around now.
We certainly can. I'm very grateful for this is the type of year that my solar system in my home starts to pay off. We don't get a bill for a while now that the
Yeah,
days are longer and the sun is out there shining and such. So I it came at a very good time for us. I'm
yeah,
grateful for that, and I'm really looking forward to the energy advocate coming on board and helping us and lots of people across the community find additional ways to
yeah.
become more efficient.
Yeah, it'll be their mission to reach out to as many people as possible and offer them ways to save money, and not much better than that.
That's right, exactly. And we're also, one of the other things that we've talked a little bit about, we're also looking at our municipal community electricity program that hasn't gone by the wayside.
Yep.
That will be something that I think is our revised bidding meeting in that later in the month or next month?
Yeah, I think it's might even be later this week, our pre-bid meeting. So yeah, that's about to roll out as well. So that's another opportunity for some potential savings.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for joining me, Mike, as always.
Thank you, Samantha.
Next up, welcome Gretchen. Gretchen is with Woburn Pride, and I'm really excited to talk about this year's Pride activities.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
So on May 31st, which is the kickoff right before June gets very busy, and June, as many of us know, is Pride Month,
Hmm.
we're going to be doing a proclamation reading on the Common, and wanted to
Yes.
give you an opportunity to talk about what you hope people will take away from that time together.
Sure. So I hope that people um, see the importance of visibility for the LGBTQ community, especially when they're, although the Stonewall riots may seem so far away, there's still a long way to go um, in terms of even needing more visibility and acceptance, and needing that celebration of people that have always been here and will always be here. Um, so to ensure that, of course, we're celebrating history and how far we've come, but also celebrating the people that are here and that may feel the need to have a little bit more support because not everyone is welcomed even in their own homes. So it's really, really an important event for all ages to see and to be a part of.
Excellent. I think it's really a wonderful opportunity for us as a community to remind people that everyone who lives here is welcomed,
Right.
and I really look forward to it. If I'm correct, it's at noon on Saturday the 31st. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Excellent,
Yes.
excellent. And we look forward to that. And that'll be on the Common. And in addition to that, there are other things that are happening in June to celebrate Pride. Tell us a little bit about what else you have
Yes.
planned.
So, right after the proclamation, we'll be heading over to the Brickyard, and Triana Wilson will be playing some acoustic music for a few hours. So it'll be nice. So people will be able to hang out, still continue the kickoff of Pride, but then also be able to get together, sit, chat, meet new people, or be with people, familiar people. And so it'll just be a nice opportunity to sit and to listen to some music and hang out. And that'll be great. So then on June 17th, we're planning on having a workshop. Location still to be determined, but we'll get that sorted for the next couple of days. And so the workshop will be kind of LGBTQ allyship 101. So it's meant to be an introductory workshop. for people to have a better understanding of how to be an ally, how to kind of be more supportive, and how to have a voice when standing up for their LGBTQ peers.
Well, thank you for hosting that and for all the
Yeah.
work that you're doing. I know many of us are familiar with Woburn Pride, but not everybody. Tell us a little
Yes.
bit about the organization and how we as a community can support it.
Sure. So, Women Pride really is just it's an organization which started by honoring and celebrating Pride in 2019, but it has really turned into a community. Well, especially within social media on Facebook, we have a nice group of people that share events. We have a just a wonderful community that kind of kind of chit chat back and forth within social media. But then it's nice to kind of see the same faces celebrating Pride and bringing more people to celebrate Pride in June. And so hopefully we're hoping to expand throughout the year to have more events. So that because obviously Pride is all year long, but really truly honored in June. But it's really just an organization of people that get together to ensure that Woburn is truly a more welcoming community.
Excellent. Well, Gretchen, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
I'm
Thank
excited
you.
for the 31st and looking forward to all the other things that are come in June as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, David Crowley from Social Capital Inc. Welcome, David.
Thanks for having me, Samantha.
For a lot of years, I think even maybe sort of from its founding, AmeriCorps has been a big part of Social Capital Inc. For those folks who might not be familiar with the AmeriCorps program, tell us just a little bit about what it is at its core.
Sure. Overall, the AmeriCorps program is sometimes called the Domestic Peace Corps program. It's where people can do a year of intensive community service in local communities throughout the country. One big difference from the Peace Corps, however, is the Peace Corps is run directly by the federal government. AmeriCorps is run through making grants to literally over thousands of nonprofit organizations around the country, and SCI is one of those that receives a grant to be able to have full-time AmeriCorps members serving in our area.
And I think one of the things that's been really important about that program is because there's this local connection, we've had an opportunity to work with a lot of things that affect our community and
Yeah,
Woburn and surrounding towns. Now, recently, Social Capital did receive communication that the funding for the end of this year was not going to be there from the federal government. So let's talk a little bit about just sort of the placements that impacts and some of the folks that we want to try and take good care of as they're
sure.
ending up maybe a little bit earlier than we had
Yeah.
anticipated.
Yeah, and it was a very sudden notice. I will say I got an email on a Sunday morning 2 weeks ago that was basically saying, tell your AmeriCorps members not to report to our office, the Boys and Girls Club here in Woburn, the Woburn Public Library Teen Center are examples of places where our AmeriCorps members are placed. So they provide, a lot of capacity. The focus is really a lot of work directly with young people and setting up programs for youth at those locations and directly with SCI. So that is we got notice that basically we were losing our last 2 months of funding, was one of these actions that followed a Doge visit to the federal agency. Like a lot of cuts that have been going down, was very sudden and pretty arbitrary.
So, I know that affects people who were, I mean, it's not a lot of money, but it's still the money they were living on. And some of them might have been students and doing other things at the same time. I know that Social Capital is looking for ways to try and fill that gap so that folks can have a complete end to their term and the organizations they're supporting don't have a sudden drop in programming efforts. How much do you need to raise and how can we support those efforts?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, we started, this was just 2 weeks ago. We started needing about $7,500 after looking at what we already had in place through our partnerships and grants. I'm pleased to report we're down to about $500 to get totally
Nice.
funded to be able to. And so what that will do is enable those folks to continue serving into June, doing the wrap-up activities at the Boys and Girls Club, at the library, and directly with SCI. And as you noted, that, it gives them some time to plan because if we didn't have the private funding to do that, those folks would have been immediately without a source of income. Granted, it's not a lot, but when you're relying on a pretty small check, you do need every penny. And so we're really, we were troubled to get the notice, but pleased to see the way the community has been rallying to support. And so we're trying to get over the finish line. And that's really a minimum we need to raise. It's possible. This is our first time ending a federal grant program that's possible. Unanticipated costs could come up, and we run a tight budget at SCI. So $500 is like the minimum we need to just keep paying those AmeriCorps members into June. So if we keep getting a great response and get a little more than the 500, that will just give us a little cushion to make sure we're able to keep running our programs through the end of the year before we start a new budget in July.
That's great. Now, I am a board member of Social Capital, so I had a little bit of a preview that even before that funding came, there had been a decision for Social Capital to not continue with AmeriCorps next year, that there's some exciting new strategic things that were going to be in place. I won't ask you to talk in great detail about that. I know rolling that out is happening, but maybe just give folks a little bit of a preview about the direction Social Capital is taking and how that might benefit our community.
Yeah, definitely. So we're really focusing on what we're calling developing social capital cultivators, really focusing on giving young people and other emerging leaders skills and tools to be able to run their own community projects. And Gretchen's still on the phone is a great example. She's had youth through the Spectrum Club at the high school participate just recently in our youth grant pitch contest. I forget how many youth, there was maybe a half dozen or so of the members that got involved in learning skills around how, with two mentors, how to develop a presentation. They did a great job, and we were able to fund them to help with some of the great programming they're doing at the high school. We're trying to multiply. So if there's six young people working with Gretchen, we're ramping those numbers up to 1,000 over the next 3 years. And so that's kind of our long-term focus. And we decided to focusing on kind of that ability to train emerging leaders, that the AmeriCorps program wasn't necessarily the best fit, particularly with some of the priorities that were coming down from the current federal administration that weren't really aligned with our values around inclusivity at SCI. As you're saying, around the Pride Month, we at SCI have always been about how we can help create welcoming, inclusive communities. And we feel we're sad to see federal funding cut so short. We feel like longer term private funding enables us to kind of stay true to our mission and values.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very glad to see that the community has stepped up so much, and we have a smaller gap to fill than we did maybe just a few days ago. That speaks a lot to how Woburn always continues to take good care of each other, and I love to see that. For those folks who do want to make a donation, where can they do that?
Great. Yes, they can go online at socialcapitalinc.org/donate and make a contribution. They can also mail a check to our office, which is 400 West Cummings Park, Suite 4125, and just checkmate out to SCI will do the trick.
Excellent. For those who have been paying attention, you'll recognize that building address because that is the same building where our Community Resource Center is housed. And so we're lucky to have SCI as a downstairs neighbor, along with Mass Teacher Resources near us, and C. Healy's in that building. So there's just a lot of wonderful things that happen in that space.
Yeah, it's like the nonprofit community hub now, that building. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. Thank you, David, for joining us. And
Thanks.
Woburn, thank you as always for being part of the community, for submitting questions, for caring about all the things that make this a wonderful city. Please continue to take good care of each other.